I am Michelle Easton. I'm president of the Claire Booth Luce Policy Institute, and I want to welcome you all to our ladies' lunch. I founded the Institute 23 years ago because we've always had great women in the conservative movement, but we haven't always celebrated them and promoted them as we should. Now, I got my start, like many of you, in YAF. I had a YAF chapter, which I got active with my senior year in college, and then I came to Washington for an internship right after college, internship at YAF, and they hired me, and I worked there for 5 years, and then my husband became the head of YAF, and I thought, I love this man dearly, but I don't want to work for him during the day. So I left YAF, and I went to National Right to Work, going to law school at night, and I finished my law school, 2 years at National Right to Work. I did the last 2 years of law school, and President Reagan was elected. What to do? Go work in a law firm or work for President Reagan? What would you have done? President Reagan. 8 years, and then I stayed 4 more for the first President Bush. What to do? Go work in a law firm and make huge money over the years, or form a group that promotes conservative women. That's what I decided to do. So, where you are all now, most of you in college, some of you are out, you're at a wonderful time in your life, and you're going to hear some wonderful advice from Bay about your future, about looking ahead. I just have one bit of advice to give you all before I introduce some people. What's the most important decision you're going to make probably in the next 50 years of your life? Most of you ladies. Yes. Who you pick to marry. Of course, they think they pick us, but we know we pick them. You can recover, but try not to. Get somebody that shares your values, somebody that wants the same things you want in life. And remember, the guys, we love them. At your age, they're not quite as mature, some of them, as you are. So just give them a little time. They're going to turn out great, most of them. They really are. They really are. Let me introduce a few people. We have several members of the Luce staff. Back at the camera, we have Jeannie O'Connor, who is our vice president. Yay! We have Laurel Conrad, who is our program director, who is going to speak to you all at 3 o'clock. Stand up, Laurel. And Sophie Lind in the back, who's the front office manager at the Institute. When you call, hers is the voice you usually hear. I'm also going to take just a moment to introduce our 5 incredible interns who are here. First, the 2 Danielles, stand up. Danielle and Danielle from Grove City and from Patrick Henry. Andrea from Rutgers. There's Elizabeth. Elizabeth from Virginia Tech. And Abby from Miami. I know they're so happy to be here with YAF at this great conference and to be with all of you, and we are delighted to have them. Sitting at my table also, I want to introduce 2 other people. Kimberly Begg is the General Counsel at Young America's Foundation. And I want you all to know the first lecture she did at Rutgers was a Claire Booth Luce lecture. Yay! And next to Kimberly is Joan Sterling, who's a good friend of Young America's Foundation and also Claire Booth Luce, and we are so delighted you could be with us. She's from Maryland. And she helps all these events to happen, and we're very grateful to you. All right, Bay Buchanan, what can I say? She's already been introduced, right? I mean, this is an amazing woman. She's run for office. She served as U.S. Treasurer. She's been a policy activist. She ran her brother's presidential campaign. She's a mom. She wrote a book called Bay and Her Boys. It's one of my all-time favorite books. What does a smart young woman do? She's got 2 kids. She's got 1 in her tummy, and she's alone. What a fabulous book that was. That book makes me cry every time I look at it. And what a fabulous woman she is. She's done so much. Also, her book on Hillary That should come out again, Bay. You know that it is one of the most insightful books I've ever read about Hillary, and all that is still true about how the left and the feminists say how great and strong she is. She is not, and Bay lays it out in great detail. What else can I say? 3 sons. I have 3 sons. We always say we got a place in heaven for sure. Bay Buchanan.
Thanks. This is one of my most fun events every year. Some of you have probably heard me talk. You'll know the stories. But this is the point of my speaking to you all today. Very casual. We are here to talk as one lady to another about what it's like to be a woman in our circumstances, a conservative woman. What it's like in your schools, what it's like to be in your business, experiences I've had. And so what I want to do is just kind of open up with just a couple stories. And then you all ask any question you have, things that you feel that are threatening to you or you're concerned about as you move ahead in your education as well as in your professions and in life in general. As Michelle said, Michelle and I have a special place in heaven, and the good news is Michelle's spot is right next to mine. So we're going to be able to laugh and talk and tell stories for eternity. This is going to be wonderful. All right, first of all, I was in the 76 campaign, 1976. How old was I then? 18, no, maybe 14, maybe, right? Something 12. And I just came into the campaign. I was a bookkeeper, all right? And I was an accountant. I was one of the accountants there. And so I had a master's in mathematics, and I had been working as an accountant in Australia, and I taught a year, and now I'm an accountant in the office, the Reagan campaign office. And so people would be running around all the time, and I had my little office in the back, well, shared with 3 others. But the Xerox machine was right outside my office, you know, this big open bullpen of a room, lots of activity, lots of people. But that was the one big old Xerox machine. And so I wasn't in a position to really talk to people much, or get to know people. I'm just working the books, you know, write checks, having somebody pass them out. And the Xerox machine, though, was the focus point of this story. See, what happened is, I had reports to do to the Federal Election Commission and the Secretary of State once a month. And these reports had to be Xerox. We didn't have computers, all right? And so, you know, you'd type them up, you'd get them in, and then you'd have somebody Xerox 55 of them, so we could deliver them to all the states, the District of Columbia, the FEC, and have a couple of copies for ourselves. And they were this thick. Okay, so we would have to Xerox and Xerox, and we'd lay them all out on a table, so when the kids came in the morning, they would collate them so I could get them in. I had to have them in a certain time on a certain day. So I couldn't just, you know, take your time to deliver them. So, bottom line is, I had to make certain that Xerox machine was working. And in the middle of the, you know, I would work late at night, everybody going home, and I'm working on my report, and I wanted to have everything ready for the morning so they could collate it. And the Xerox machine would break. And I'd be doomed if this thing didn't fix. Well, we had a 24-hour service, so I called the guy, and he said, well, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I said, yeah, well, we pay for service 24 hours, get it? He says, okay, Ben, here's what you do. Open this, open that, see that thing, you see that round knob? Pull it, okay? Now do this, do this. And he would taught me how to fix the Xerox machine, because he didn't want to come in, okay? So I would call him again the next night, if something broke or whatever, and he'd show me again, and I had that thing down. I could fix the Xerox machine. He didn't need to be called anymore. And so one day I'm in my office, and I heard the press secretary went in there, and the Xerox machine wasn't working, and I heard all these 4-letter words, and he was in complete panic, and I need this right now. I'm having a press conference. I need these copies right now. And they said, look, we don't have, it's not working. And he said, no, you don't understand. And they said, well, talk to that gal in there, Buchanan. And so he comes in, he says, you know how to make the Xerox machine work? I said, yeah, I can fix the Xerox machine. Well, good. Here, get me 50 of these, whatever we needed. I said, sure. So I went in there, boop, 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 fixed it, Xeroxed it, walked down the hall and handed it to him. I got to be known as the person who can fix the Xerox machine. And I want you to know, that gave me a much higher esteem than anything else I did, including my master's degree or the fact that I was the accountant in the office. That meant nothing to these guys. She's the one that fixes the Xerox machine, okay? They can't fix a Xerox machine. I can. So I became very special. Point of the story is, I met all the higher-ups. I got to be well known as somebody who could make things happen, and my reputation went straight up, and I was in a much better position than I was when I started. Now, message to you all. When you get a job, you do everything. You do not think that this is below you, okay? The phones are ringing. As a campaign manager, I tell people, don't let that phone ring a third time, because if I answer it, you may be fired. Because I cannot have a campaign where people don't answer the phone. Well, I don't care if you're the policy guy. Answer the stinking phone as soon as if someone else isn't. They obviously are occupied. So you answer it. Nobody's above answering the phone. Nobody's above anything when you're part of a team. We're all part of a team. We want the team to look good and accomplish things. If you have to stay up until 4 in the morning and help me collate my reports, then you do it. Everybody does everything. And that makes you far more valuable. I had these kids come into one of my brother's campaigns, just graduated from college, smart, 2 young girls. And they were like, well, we can't be the receptionist. We're much better than a receptionist. We like to do policy. You want to do policy, right? I have a candidate that does policy. You don't do policy. No, but I said, well, just answer the phone for a while. Do you know that one of the best jobs you can do in a campaign is the receptionist? Why? Because first of all, you're usually seeing everybody coming in, and there's governors, and there's senators, and there's congressmen, and there's people that are important in your campaign, and you're meeting them all, and you're saying hello, and they get to know your face, and all the campaign workers are there, and if you're accomplished, you're talking to them on the phone, and you're saying to them, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, yes, I can get this done, governor, I'll take care of this. You are somebody that is in contact with the people who can get you jobs, and they know you are somebody who's competent. Also, you've got the candidate who's relying on you, who's calling you up and saying, hey, did you get any message from so-so? This is what you want to do. You want to do everything. So do not become like these girls that I knew who thought they were way above. They said they learned it in school, that when you take a job, don't let them make you the secretary. Don't let them make you be the gal Friday. We don't do that anymore. Well, you do whatever needs to get done. That's my lesson there. And next lesson. Fight for what's important. Do not fight for everything. This will become absolutely true of you all in business as women. Because sometimes they'll say, well, you're a woman, you're being treated differently. He asked you to get lunch. He doesn't ask the guys to get lunch. Who cares? Get the lunch. Okay? Who cares? That's not something to fight for and say, I'm not getting him lunch. I'll tell you a little lunch story, and then I'll tell you this other story. I had this gal in the office of another campaign, and I used to work all the time. I'd get there in the morning, and I would be one of the last to leave. And the phones were ringing constantly, just constantly, as the campaign manager. And I wouldn't eat. And so I'd have a break, and I would say, some gal would be working nearby, and this one particular gal, and I said, would you mind, here's $10, would you mind going down and get me a tuna sandwich? Well, you would just thought I'd ask her to do something totally illegal and possibly immoral. She's like, I don't get sandwiches. I don't do lunch. And I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm trying to get something to eat. Okay, that's all. And I just said, fine. She's got attitude. I can't be bothered with attitude. I don't have time for this. So I went around the corner the next day and said, look, young man, would you mind getting me some lunch? Absolutely, Ms. Buchanan, right away. Raced down, came up. You know what he did after that? Noon every day, he'd pop his head in. You need something to eat? Need me to go get you something? Well, who do you think I found when I had a better job? Who do you think I looked for? That guy. And who do you think I called on to pick my brother up at the airport to show him how much I respected him? That guy. He's helping me. He's helping me do my job. I didn't think less of him because he went and got my lunch. I thought more of him, that he was so willing to be part of this team. Then there's the corner office. I was named the national treasurer of the campaign in '80, and I was young. I was about 30 years old. And I had an inner office in California, no window. There was at least 7 offices that had beautiful windows. At least 6 of them were never occupied. The people who had those offices traveled most of the week. And then they'd come in for meetings on Thursday, and they'd all be in their little offices, which had nothing on the desk because they were never there. And then they'd all have their little offices, and then they would have their big meeting. I was not invited to the big meeting, even though I was the treasurer of the campaign, and I had an inner office. So these couple of ladies in the place came who said, Bay, you are the highest ranking woman in this campaign. You are here all the time. You should have a window office. You should go to the meetings. And I said, I should? I was so busy. I wanted a window office. I'd like to know if it's day or night when I'm in there. And yet, I didn't know if I wanted to make a big stink about this. And so I asked one of the fellows, whose name you would know, since he's never there except for one day a week, would it be okay if I had his office and then he could just hang out in my office? Well, you could use mine when I'm not here, he said, but otherwise I need to be here. He wasn't about not to have a window office, because the other guys would come in and he wouldn't have a window office. We all have to be high up. And so it was absurd. And so they kept pressuring me, you get a window office, you get to those meetings. So I called my brother Pat, and I said, hey Pat, I got this dilemma. And he'd been in many campaigns by this time. And he said to me, do you want to be remembered as the person that fought for a corner office? Do you wish to be remembered by the person with a window office? And I said, well, and he said, no. Pick your fights. Pick your fights. Fighting for a window office is not significant. You want to be remembered 5 years from now as the gal that fought for a window office? You fought to go to a meeting? He says, I know right now, I can still remember the guy who came into the Reagan administration and measured the rooms to make certain he figured he was number 4 on the hierarchy, that he better have at least the fourth biggest office. He says, I remember him not for his policy, but because he was this little person to me that he would cared about the size of his office. He said, fight for what's important. Okay, the meeting. Tell me about the meeting. I told him how it's where the big decisions are made. He said, you don't have to be in the meeting. You control all the money, right? I said, yeah. And he said, they have to walk down the hall and talk to you. If they don't have the meeting, they can't do anything. They don't have the money, they can't do anything, can they? So they have to know the budget. So you hang on to those numbers. Give nobody those numbers. You have the numbers, you have the information. That's where your strength is. So that's what I did. And you know what? There's one guy said, here, you need to tell me about what our numbers are, what our budget is, how much there is. And I gave him such a little piece of paper with such a little bit of information. There's no way he could answer any questions that came up. And so after the meeting, these big guys would come walking down. Hey, Bay, you think we could do this? You think you have the money? How are we going to? And that's where my strength was. I had information. And I never fought. I never got the window office. And I never go to the meetings. But I did make certain I kept my position as treasurer of that campaign, and as a result became the treasurer of the United States. And now I'm going to tell a quick story about that. And do it. We have one. Okay, one little quick story about that. Okay, so pick your fights. Do everything in office. Do not think anything's below you if you're part of a team, and you'll be treated with respect. Now, next, ask for what you want. Do not think somebody's going to come along and say, oh my gosh, you are so talented and so good, I would like to promote you. Guys do not wait for somebody to discover them. You can't wait. I was called after the 80 campaign, we won, and I had to get a heart operation, and so I was going to be out of commission for 6 weeks. So here it is, November, and the inaugural is in January, second half of January, and I was going to be most of that time held up in recovery. And so somebody from the campaign had gone to transition, a lot of them had, and they were trying to pick and choose where people were going to end up, what kind of jobs they were going to get. And so the guy called me, a friend of mine, an advanced man, previously, and he said, Bay, I know you're going to have this operation, but we want to know now what it is you want, what position do you want in the administration. So as we start putting people's names down, we'll have you in mind. He said, tell me first, second, and third, what position you'd like. So I said, okay, first, I want to be the Treasurer of the United States. Second, I want to be the Treasurer of the United States. And third, I want to be the Treasurer of the United States. He said, Bay, this isn't funny. If you don't get that, you're going to come out in January and most of the good jobs are going to be gone. And then what are you going to do? And I said, and if I give you a second and third, I'm going to not be the Treasurer of the United States. Now, I worked with this man 5 years. I'm qualified to be the Treasurer of the United States. I was the highest ranking woman on his campaign. And this is the job I want. Get it? That's the one I want, and I expect it. And I was President of the United States. I came out of the operation, and recovered enough to get down to the transition committee in January and say what's happening. And they said, George Bush has said, as vice president, I don't expect all my people to get positions. I do want 10 of them to get whatever they want, and then the rest are the Reagan people. One of them, one of the 10, who had won Iowa for him and gave him almost the possibility, really put him on track to become president instead of Reagan, if Reagan had beat him in New Hampshire. And so she was a valuable staff member of ours, a valuable campaign worker for him, and he said, she gets what she wants. She wanted to be Treasurer of the United States. So I said, it's one thing to lose, but I'm sure as heck not losing to a Bush person. We beat them, remember? So I went in and I said, I need to talk to the governor, the president-elect. He said, what? I said, I need to tell him that I need to be the Treasurer of the United States. If that's what I want, I can't be beat by someone else, especially not a Bush person. And so he said, Bay, I'll talk to the president-elect tonight. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I went in, he says, job's yours, Bay. Because I asked and then I followed up. I wasn't going to let it slip away. So when how many women I've heard, I should have gotten that position. They chose someone else. Did you ask for it? Did you let them know this is important to you? Did you let them know so important that you're going to be very upset if you don't get it? That it better be somebody more qualified than you. Dang it, because you've earned this job. That's the kind of attitude you have to have. You work your head off, you do well, you impress people with the work, but then you speak up about what it is that you think is fair for you to be, where you should be promoted, what you want. And if you don't get it, you know what they're going to do? They're going to come to you and say, sorry, we got somebody that we think is better, but you're next in line. Okay, now they have your attention. You have their attention. They're going to be looking for you. They don't want to lose you. That's how it works. Speak up. Ask for what you want. And with that, the floor is open. Ask any question you like. Did I cover everything well? There's a mic right here, you all, so everybody can hear. And don't think you can't ask about something totally unrelated to what I just said to you. That's just a little advice I have from my world in business.
Hi, my name is, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Katie Richter. I actually have graduated and I'm applying to medical school right now.
Good for you.
I'm a little too tall. And my question's kind of generic, but I wanted an excuse to come up here and to say, I love you. You are wonderful. Thank you so much for being such an inspiration. Like, I am so inspired by you, and I want to be like you.
Thanks so much.
But my question is, why did you decide to get a master's in mathematics? And then maybe like a little follow-up to that, did you feel like that was a pivotal decision in becoming treasurer, or why math? A lot of girls aren't into math.
Yes, I loved math. I always did extremely well in math. My undergraduate was in math, and my brother said, what are you going to do next? And I didn't know, and he said, go get a master's. And I thought, I was so good in math, I wondered if this was a talent of mine, a gift that I should pursue. And I learned quickly, in 2 years of a master's degree, that it was not something I should pursue one more minute. That these people that were getting masters were also going to get PhD, and they were running circles around me. I was way in over my head, to be honest, mostly because I didn't have a lot of the courses they had already had. I went to a small school and didn't have the heavy sciences. And but I loved getting a master's in math, and from then on, people said, well, did it help you? Well, first of all, I'm very, I taught math. I love it. But it helped me because whenever I interviewed, they would look down. You have a master's in mathematics? And they immediately assumed I was just so smart. I just immediately, she can do it. She can master math. Don't mess. And I tell you, that's all. That's how it helped me. And then there's this, who was it? You would know her, Michelle, the gal that used to do TV, did interviews in the morning show. And she says to me, I became treasurer and I was being interviewed. And she just, and it was the Today Show, okay? And they have my signature, which is going to be in the dollar bill. They had it up on the screen, kind of like superimposed on a dollar bill. And she looked, and I have very nice penmanship. And she said, oh, is that why you got the job? Is your penmanship so nice? That is a true story. She believed really that that's why I got the job. I thought, okay, all right. Paula, I don't remember her name, but anyhow. But having that master's, no one ever questioned that I was a treasurer of the United States because I had a master's in math. It had absolutely no relationship to what I did, none. Except that I intimidated people because I had a master's in math. Good question, and good luck to you in medical school. That's terrific.
Hi, my name's Anna. I was wondering,
with the whole notion of the wage gap and whether it's actually real for women or not, what your thoughts were on the women's national team and the whole equal pay, equal play thing, and I wonder if you had anything to say about that.
First of all, it plays very well in politics. All right, it makes us look mean-spirited that we wouldn't want people to have equal pay. You guys just want women back in the kitchen, this kind of attitude. And so with the feminist movement, they'll keep playing that, whether the wages are equal or not. They will keep saying it's not because it plays so well in elections, etc. It kind of separates the two immediately. That's one of the first questions when you run for office as a conservative. The women will come and push that on you, and then you have to defend yourself. The key is the principle, basically, is that businesses should determine the wages, and I will guarantee you, as a woman, that we pay according to merit. I don't care what you look like. I don't care what your sex is. I don't care what your religion is. I don't care if you're heavy or skinny. It makes you are competent, and you're getting a job, and you are helping me. You watch how fast I move you with me, and try to get you to take on different positions, because I need competence. That's what I want. Men tend to hire women because they're much more organized. They have some kind of, they can make things around them work smoothly, and whereas men are all kind of talking about the next big thing, well, there's somebody back there who's getting everything ready to make it happen right. We are much better as organizers, generally speaking. And so, but the bottom line is, if you study the issue, it's nonsense. You have to have, as a mathematician, I can tell you, you compare apples with apples and oranges with oranges. You don't compare apples with oranges and say, oh my gosh, look. And so if you take somebody with two people, one's male, one's female, both have master's degrees, both have worked 10 years, both have worked steadily for those 10 years, there is probably a 2 or 3% off, but nothing more than that. But then if you take two people, both have master's degree, both have spent 5 years, then one took 3 or 4 years off to be home with the kids, maybe 5, and then came back, and then you compare those two people, guess what? The man's gone ahead. He spent extra 4 or 5 years moving up, and you're coming in here. What do you think's going to happen? So also, women prefer part-time work. They prefer flexibility. They want those. That's what they choose. And so you get the flexibility, less pay, but you get the flexibility, and they're happy. Okay, so then everybody says, well, you're not getting paid the same. That's not their most important thing, is the pay. Most important for them is they're flexible, be home, take care of their parents, if that's what it is, take care of children, if that's what it is, you know what I mean? So we choose that, so don't let them say we're not, I mean, the company couldn't survive, except the White House, who does not pay equal pay. That's the only place that can survive, otherwise you'd be smoked out. It's not good PR for a company. Plus, it doesn't happen to the extent that they're talking about. Then their other big thing is, truck drivers teachers should be paid the same amount as truck drivers, because it's just equally as important. I have a hard time with this. Like it's a wholly different industry. You can't just suddenly raise teachers' salaries just because truck drivers make more. Now, maybe next year it'll be not truck drivers, they'll pick doctors. Okay, now how are we going to do it? It's ridiculous. Okay, it's absurd. However politically it works, they'll keep using it. That's the bottom line. Yes, and I got to answer faster questions. My question's faster.
You did say that we could ask whatever, so
yes.
I'll pick up on that. It's kind of a little bit of a segue from that, and something that Michelle mentioned about the most important decision we're going to make in the next 50 years is our life partner. And don't mistake that, I mean man, don't worry, no partner as in general. No, my question for you is, a lot of times, more and more lately, the messaging is, especially from the left, but even more so from the right nowadays, that as a young woman, if you get married before the age of 30, that you're a failure, that you're giving up on your career, or that you're not as much of a woman because you don't concentrate solely on your career. Now I know that you were a single mom for a while, and that probably plays into your story a lot, but I just wondered, what are your thoughts, what is your advice on us young women, should we wait a time period to really move forward? Is it a good thing to get married young, or a terribly bad thing you would discourage? I just want to know what your personal advice on that is.
You should find the person that is right for you, and then you should marry him. And I don't care if you're 21 or 30. The important thing is to find the right, that is the most important decision of your life, all right? If you can get the right guy, and you're certain this is right for you, and you're ready to take that step, you take it. Do you know how many people I know who waited till they're 30 and didn't find anyone else? That the guy they passed up is no longer around, and they thought everything would be perfect. You cannot plan for these important factors. This is what so many women do. I'm not going to have children until I'm 32. I'll get my career. I'll have two. I'll find them. It doesn't work like that. Now, I have 3 boys, and both of them were the oldest 2 married in college. And I had a sister-in-law call me and say, from my first one called me, he was a junior, that he's getting married. And she said, "Do you approve this?" And I was like, excuse me? He is making the decision about his future, about who he's going to marry. Who am I to step in and say, no, 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 no. You know, he's an accomplished young man. He's smart. I taught him the right. I'd much prefer him marrying her than living with her. I know that much. You know, and he married. They had kids before he graduated from law school, 3. And they're doing great. Same as the second one. He just graduated from an MBA after doing 2 years working, 4 years working, and then got an MBA. He has 3 children. They both married as college. And they're as happy as can be. And their kids are little, and they're young, and they have lots of fun together. They don't have 30 cents, but they're having a blast, you know? They put their priorities first. And it doesn't mean that one of them wanted to be a full-time mom. Both of them are happy to be full-time mom. One of them would be a terrific businesswoman, and I think she's always thinking, what little business will I get into when they're kindergarten? You know, all of them are old enough. But that might not be for you. You might have medical school and thinking, listen, I'm dying to be, this is what I want to be. I haven't met the right person. Just go for it. Get as much education as you can. But don't think that you can line it all up and it's going to work that way. Story after story will tell you there's a lot of 30-some-year-old women who want a family, and it's not there. They have great professions, but they don't have the family. I can't tell you when you're going to meet the right person, but keep yourself open to meeting them at any time, and do not be afraid. If it's the right person, you'll work out everything else together, and that's a beautiful life.
Thank you so much.
And don't tell your parents I told you that.
Hi, my name is Jackie Ray from Hillsdale College. I think that birth control is a pseudo device put on by the liberal agenda because at its core, birth control disrupts the formation of human life. Mm-hmm. Would you say that in order to be pro-life, you also have to be anti-birth control?
No, I would not.
Okay.
And the reason is this. I've heard this argument, and in fact I have good, very dear friends, very strong pro-lifers who agree with you and have made this argument with me many, many times. We've had birth control legally in this country since 1950. All right? It's not going to change. And I do not believe that wanting to kind of control the circumstances in your own family life, whether I would do it or not, is insignificant. You have to decide what's best for you. And if you and your husband come to the conclusion that you want children every other year, that 2 is too many right away, or whatever it is, or that you only want 3 children, you can't deal for lots of different reasons, legitimate reasons that you don't want more. This is a personal decision within the family. But I do not think that there's not a child. You're preventing a child, but there is not a child. Once there's a child, then you have to preserve life. Other than that, I don't go any further than that. But I know that other people have that position, and I understand it and respect it, but I don't agree with it. And also politically, you can't go there. If it was a child, I'd go there and I don't care what. But it's not a position that is going to take hold in this country.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Thank you so much for coming and speaking to
Sure.
us today. It's been a pleasure. My name's Danielle. I'm an intern at the Claire Booth Luce Policy Institute and a student at Patrick Henry College.
Oh, sure.
And I just wanted to ask you about apathy among conservatives. I know in my personal experience going to a conservative college, a lot of times it's difficult to get my fellow conservatives to be active and to participate in the conservative movement, even though they may hold very strongly to the beliefs that I also share. Do you have any advice for firing up
You know, this is a common problem. A lot of people, for one thing, being a conservative, as I spoke earlier today, it's one thing to be a conservative, it's another thing to be a conservative activist. Are you willing to take what you believe and try to influence others? A lot of people aren't. That's not what they're going to do. So they're not going to lead. They're going to be there, and they might be solid votes. They may be able to get swayed easily because they don't talk about it a lot and debate it and consider other options. So they're not really as firm as they need to be. Being an activist really firms you up, makes you much stronger. How do you get their attention? That's the chore. And I know Yaf and Claire Booth Lewis work on that to try to tell you different events kind of have, somehow touch them. Do you know, that's the key, is you got to somehow get their attention long enough to make them realize that this is important. A lot of people think what's important at your age is me. Me. So I need time for me. I need to date, spend my weekends like I want, or study, or get into medical school, so I have to study all the time, whatever it is. It's about me getting myself ready, and then at some later date, I will consider what I can do for the community. But right now, it's me. And you're going to have a hard time breaking into that. But that's what you do. That's what you do as an activist. You try to get them. You bring somebody controversial on campus. You know, you do something that makes them respond. Because once you get those responses, you make them think, then you can maybe get them more involved. But it's your job. That's a tough one. But that's key. You know, speaking in the other room this morning, someone came up to me afterwards, a young man, and he said he came here as a pro-choicer. He never really heard anyone speak about pro-life. He's now pro-life. And that was hearing it passionately, just listening, considering it, walked out pro-life. Now, that's what you can do. So don't think that these apathetic conservatives are dismiss them outright, but work with them. They have chosen a different route that you have to respect. But you got to try to touch them, make them respond, make them get involved in your argument, your debate, and see if you can't get them to at least listen like that young man did, and you can change them. You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Julie Dobbs, and I attend Spring Hill College in Mobile, Alabama.
Sure.
And I kind of wanted to get your advice and some type of inspiration. I'm wanting to go into campaign management, and I kind of work with I work with Students for Trump, which we're not in the official campaign, but I mean, we start a lot of stuff that goes on in this country.
I bet you're really getting to be an activist now, debating all the time.
Yes, ma'am. But I'm actually starting to work on a local campaign where I live.
Good, good.
And what type of advice would you have for somebody who's wanting to go from local to state elections and hopefully up to the general election to work in those campaign managements?
I loved my career in campaigns. I loved it. I loved being any position I had. So I can nothing but encourage you. But what I found is best is make certain you're working for people you believe in. I don't care if everybody says he can't win, she can't win, that's ridiculous campaign. Go work for her. Because this is what you're about. This is who you are. You want to help the people. It doesn't matter that my son once said to me, do you ever work for anyone that won? Because I spent many years with people who were in the cause running that didn't have a chance. And I said, that's not the point. He says, not the point? No, it's not the point. Do you know how many people are in Congress of the United States today because Tom Tancredo ran or Pat Buchanan ran? That inspired them. They got in a campaign of Pat Buchanan, and they were so excited. And that they decided afterwards, I think I'll run for Congress, I think I'll run and become a mayor. You know, they got involved. That's what it's about, is getting more and more people who believe like you involved. And then it becomes large enough to start actually electing people, all right? So number one, do not pick somebody you think can win. Okay, now don't get me wrong, if you have some senator of the state who's an incumbent and needs your help, go with them, okay, as long as he's somewhat with you, because that's super experience, plus it'll take you to the next level and it'll get you all the context you need. But focus on who you believe in. And then I think the next thing you have to do is just take everything in. I always fill voids. I'm known for it. Somebody's not doing direct mail. I can do direct mail. I don't tell my campaign manager when I was younger that, hey, we really need somebody in direct mail. I say, listen, we need direct mail. Do you want me to do it? Because I want to learn it. You know, I want to go talk to the people that are doing press. How's it going down here? What's the problem? You know, take in information everywhere you go and try to think, how would I handle this? What would I do? But if, you know, on TV, you know, I used to do all the time. I was on national TV all the time. I'd hear somebody ask a question on television or on the radio of somebody. Can you believe this? You know, they asked him this, and I'd say, okay, how would I answer that? How would I answer that? That's a tough one, you know? Okay, constantly do that, and you will become very, very good at what you do. It's important that you know what everyone else is doing. Well, how does it all fit together? Not just your little press shop. How does the press affect the direct mail? It's a whole lot. What's the press release? I want to send it out in my direct mail. Can you give it to me a day early? I'll get it in the mail. You know what I mean? Pull it together. So you need to know all parts. But good luck. It's a very exciting field, and do not get easily depressed. Because then you'll have a very bad time, because there's a lot of bad days. And candidates do really dumb things and just completely pull the plug on you. Oh, how we were doing so well. Why would he say that? You know? So just be prepared. They're human too.
Yes.
And you always support your candidate. You always support. You don't makes a mistake. You don't say, can you believe how dumb he is? My gosh. No. He's human. He made a mistake. You support your candidate.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Abby. I'm from Miami University in Ohio, and I'm an intern here at CBLPI this summer. I just kind of wanted to hear your thoughts and opinions on the idea of conservative feminism, if you kind of embrace that term, and what your definition of that idea is.
You know, that's a very good question. I have often been on campus and been challenged by the feminists. Well, you are a feminist, so how can you reject it? Easy. I am not a feminist. Don't even go there. Why? Because with the term feminism, you get all the pro-choice, you get this equal opportunity, you get women are victims. I don't buy into any of it, and I don't want you to think I do. All right? I reject the expression as applying to me. There's, you know, these movements, they'll say, well, we can kind of soften this side and this. No. I've always believed in women moving ahead and pursuing whatever career it is that they choose, and getting the kind of education and their own personal choices. If they want to work when they get married, you go for it. If that's what you think is best for your family, and if you choose to be home with your kids, go for that. Don't let other people tell you what's best for you or your family. You know, listen to them, consider options, but then you have to make the choice and then be responsible for that choice. So no, feminism is anti-individualism. Feminism is, I'm a victim, people need to help me, government needs to help me, somebody has done something terrible to cause me to get into these circumstances, it's not my fault. No, I reject all of it. And I think every one of you better reject it, because if you don't take charge of your own life, then don't complain to anyone later. Because you have to be the one making these decisions. And you're going to make bad decisions. So what? You get up the next day and say, ooh, blew that one, I should have listened to Mom. Okay, well, now I learned. Okay, you know, that's how I learned most of my lessons. I realized after I tested everything they told me that actually they were right on most points.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Natalia Castro. I go to George Mason University, and I wanted to ask you a question that I hear a lot of talk about in the conservative movement, where about negotiating salaries, especially for women, who are often not taught in schools. Men a lot of times aren't either, about how to properly negotiate.
Yes.
And I work for an organization where I'm the only female, the only minority, and I'm the youngest person at working there. So, and I'm coming up on the time to renegotiate my salary. And I was wondering if you had any tips for me on how I can ask for what I want, but in a way that is still open for negotiation and to really get what I'm looking for.
Rule 1, ask for more than you want. Never ask for what you want. All right? That's just a rule in life. I once told some gal who wanted to get a contribution from someone, I said, you asked for 2 times what you want. So she asked for 10,000 and she got 5. I said, I told you. She wanted 5. And I said, it's just human nature. They're hesitant to give you what you want, but they don't want to upset you too much. So they'll do something, but you have to make it higher, so what they say is what you want in the first place, all right? Ask for something. Do not say, I want more, I expect more. You know, that's, no. And it's kind of hard, but if you can find out what everyone, if everybody's giving 10% every year, you have to make a case why you should get 15%. Why is that? Well, you can say, listen, I understand 10%. And I agree, I should, under normal circumstances, get 10%. But you know, since our last pay raise, I'm doing another job. I'm not doing the same job, and I got no raise when I took over this other job. So I expect to be compensated for the fact that now I have another job and get a 10% on that. You see what I mean? You can't just expect them, without you giving them some kind of material, some reason, something for them to hang on to explain to others why you got the 15%, that there's a reason why you are different. Two reasons that do not apply is the fact that you're a woman and that you're a minority. Those are not arguments, although it might make them nervous and they might go for it, but, you know, and so that's my son just came back from MBA school. He and then his wife, while she's a full-time mom, did take the negotiating class. They're driving me nuts. They are just driving me nuts. They want to negotiate, you know, the price of bread. I mean, it's just, can we relax on this, guys? And I just rented a place with them. Let's go, but, you know, it's a beautiful place. It's the best price that we could find, $2,100. Let's offer 18. You're not going to get it. What am I, just wasting my time here? Well, no, you always ask for much lower, and, you know, but you can overdo it. But when you're doing a raise, you have to say, what is reasonable? What's the market? Where can I go and get this? I mean, and that's the other argument. Another very good argument, say, listen, I've got someone down the street that suggests I can make such and such money. I don't want to go there, but I certainly can't stay here for 10,000 less. I'll tell you what, give me the 5. And I'm working for 5,000 less than I could elsewhere. But I'm doing it because I love this work, this business. You know what I mean? Give them some reason why you are in charge of your future. This is me. I'm trying to get here. I need to make more money. I've been working for you X number of times. You know the kind of work I do. I'm the person you go to constantly. You better pay me and compensate accordingly, or I'm going to have to talk to Joe down the street. Okay? Do not be, hi. You know, I really would like a raise, and I think it would be fair. No. You make them think that you have thought this through, you are serious, and this is only the right way to do it, and ask for twice what you expected. Okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, my name is Katie Hammond. I attend Gonzaga University in Washington.
Sure.
I'm a sales intern this summer at an investment company, and in my department, I'm the only girl, which is totally fine. I work with great guys, but I was wondering if you had any advice when going into a field that is male-dominated on how to act or how not to act when you're working with mostly guys.
All right. I would say two things. On the one side, do not get your back up. Do not think that anytime they say something, they're being offensive. You know, guys are a different breed. I was raised with 7 of them. I've got 3 kids. You just wonder where it comes from sometimes, you know? And so you just be yourself. Do not be intimidated by them. They're probably intimidated by you, to be quite honest, and will act out because of that. All right? So number 1, you be yourself and do not be sensitive to every little thing said. They might use foul language. And, you know, I know in the campaigns, guys use terrible language. Women use terrible language. And I just, you know, they knew I didn't like bad language. So Ed Rollins in a meeting would just say, excuse me, Bay's in the meeting. Bay didn't like, you know, excuses, Bay. You know, he was always apologizing for what everyone else was saying. I didn't care less, you know. But he just wanted everybody to know I didn't like that, you know. But he just kind of took care of me. I would never have said anything. I don't need to be, you know, holier than thou, you know. That's how you have to be. You have to have your standards. You have to, if they say dirty jokes, you can say, you know, guys, that's really one for the guys. You know, you guys really wonder what your brain, how their brains work, you know, your IQ levels, not very high when you laugh at such a stupid joke. You know, give it back, but in a nice way, you know what I mean? And not in a, I'm above this. So establish your land, who you are, what your standards are. You're not budging. Then you're going to do a job that can match any of them. And then ask for advice. They've been there longer than you, most of them. You know, and say, hey, you know, I'm in this situation. How would you handle this? So they know you respect them. So that you end up with a rapport with them. Guys will help you enormously, much more than women in general. Guys love to help people out. They love to be asked. They love to have you think that they are smarter and that might be able to guide and direct them. Oh my gosh, they love this stuff. Praise them. You know, a woman just immediately back up. You know, she might give you bad advice if you're not careful. Because there seemed to be some kind of, it's me, if anyone's going to succeed, it's going to be just me, you know, I'm the woman in here, you know, and see what I mean? You know, guys are easy if you just charm them. Just charm them. They just love people like them. okay? I mean, they're gonna help you. This is gonna help you. You don't have to be in confrontation with them. But then don't get offended if they act like guys. Just don't be one of those feminists that, you know, you can't handle this, that you put dirty pictures up on the wall. If they do, you can say, listen, this is my office too. What the heck, guys? A little respect go a long way. You know, just let them know that you're different and you expect to be recognized and respected for being a little different. Okay, does that help?
Yes. that
Okay,
does.
I know I went on and on. I'm sorry.
It applies, it definitely applies. So
Okay,
thank
good,
you.
good. Michelle, any advice? We're done here. Thanks, ladies, and good luck to all of you.